You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
I don't know if it lived up to the hype. I know that that's probably the last presidential debate of this election season. I don't expect that there would be another one. We're in the second week of September, fewer than 60 days away from the election. So that probably will be that. And people will spin it as they want, as I said last segment. But now we get to move on and talk about some other things. We've been following the fires here in Southern California and how it seems like they get one somewhat under control, and then there's another one which may pop up from it. And with this heat, which has been unbearable for the better part of a week or so, it definitely has not made it any easier. But I don't know if you noticed, it wasn't as bad heat-wise today. It was just a little bit better. It wasn't 117 outside Stefan's car. I think it was maybe 104. Maybe 103. But if you think about it, in terms of the fire, it is probably better for those firefighters who are out there working day and night. It probably alleviates some of the heat stress on the brush out there. It didn't seem as windy, at least from, in my small circle of where I was today, as compared to the previous days and what would most likely spread these fires. But it seems like it was just a little bit better today than yesterday. We will continue to update you on these fires around Southern California, from the Trabuco Canyon to the Line Fire and beyond, as the evening goes on. Let me just first say, because I didn't have a chance to even say good evening to Mark Ronner, because he was working, doing the news thing, and I was doing the debate thing. What's going on, brother?
Well, hello, Mo. I'm just trying to keep track of all the different fires. It's fire season.
Well, you haven't lived in California long enough to know that just about all year is fire season around here, but especially in September, especially.
Oh no, I'm going on 6 years now, so I'm a full-fledged Angelino. I make no apologies.
Oh, you
to
claim
anybody.
you claim us now?
Yeah, I'm a native now.
Well,
but yeah, definitely, and everything we know tells us it's going to keep getting worse as well. So we might as well just get used to living like this.
How long did it take you before you started claiming LA as your home? Not only your home, but your birthplace.
Well, now, right, just now. I just decided that's it. I'm no longer the interloper. I am a native now. I've gone native.
I don't think that's how it works.
How does it work?
I was born and raised here. I've lived here my whole life, with the exception of college, and even then I was coming home for summers. So I can't say I really lived anywhere else other than L.A. And as a true natural-born L.A. citizen, I was born in California Hospital, downtown L.A.
You're going to pull this on me? You're going to otherize me? Is that what you're doing?
No, I'm just letting you know my bona fides. Or is it bona fides? Or bona fides?
So I'm lesser than as an Angelino than you, and I'll never be as much of one as you. Is that what you're saying?
No, I would never say that you're lesser than. I am saying that I am authentic. So
well, thanks for differentiating. That's great. Good thing my self-esteem's so healthy. All right.
You know what? I don't think I've ever been to the state of Washington, and I know I haven't been to Seattle. I've had opportunities to go for business and other things, entertainment stuff, but I've never been there. I think the farthest north that I've been is Portland, Oregon, as far as the West Coast.
That's probably plenty for you. You don't need to get up any further north. No, the Pacific Northwest is beautiful, but by the time I left there, I was fully ready to leave because a lot of the stuff that made it quirky and gave it character was disappearing and being bought up and replaced by condo buildings with a retail level on the ground floor. And there's tons of that stuff left here in L.A. There's tons to explore in L.A.
You do know that we work in a building right across the way from a condo building on top of a Whole Foods, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not happening here,
Okay.
But L.A. is much larger than Seattle, and so there's less to disappear, and I got here in time to experience what there is left, where there's not much left in Seattle. I like L.A. I wish I'd moved here sooner.
I'm partial to it. As they say, home is home, so I will always be partial to L.A., with all of its warts, with all of its issues with weather, LA-specific weather issues, even the rash of earthquakes lately. So I have no illusions of this place, but home will always have a particular place in my heart, as they say. But I like the idea of places where you can go and actually see grass.
Yeah, grass is good. And as far as living here during earthquakes, I'm just going to have to get used to being asleep and having somebody come in and wake me up from a sound sleep and go, "Did you feel that? I think we had a quake." "No, get out. I'm trying to sleep."
Was there any adjustment period for that? Earthquakes?
No. We have earthquakes, had earthquakes in the Pacific Northwest, too. They don't bother me the least bit. Not like fires.
Fires bother you, or just fires that just dealing with them?
I would prefer not to be incinerated. I don't know about you.
No, well, let me put it this way, and I'm not trying to make light of the fires in any way.
No.
But living in California, fires, or at least not until the last 4 or 5 years, was not something, I believe, which was top of mind for Angelenos, unless it directly impacted you. Where if you were evacuated, yes, that's one thing. If you unfortunately lost your home or were impacted, yeah, that makes it very different and very personal. But I'm saying California writ large, big picture, I don't know, at least up until recently, whether it was on everyone's radar in the way that it is now.
No, things are definitely changing. There's just no way to talk around it. And I think it's caused me, I don't know about you, some internal change. Like when you say, imagine your dream retirement place, like some place in the forest on the edge of a lake or something. Now I start to think, maybe I should be someplace that's surrounded in concrete so I don't have to worry about fires.
Hey, Stephen, can we bring up John Cobelt and Lisa Bloom on Issue Is with Alex Michelson? See what they're talking about?
Where does this campaign, you think, go from here, John? I mean, this probably is the one and only debate. I don't think we're going to have one after this. We do have a VP debate going forward, but people are starting to vote in states around the country now, and certainly in the next 2 weeks.
I think it's going to be a sludgy grind for the next 2 months. The polls will probably stay very close. The swing states will stay close, and nobody's going to know until maybe 3 weeks after the election. I don't. Even if you had a second and third debate, it would probably be like this one. I mean, what didn't they cover? Right? They covered everything. Maybe you'd have a pair of moderators who would actually be tough. They'd grow a spine. And when Kamala Harris did her dance in the clouds and not answer questions, they say, "Kamala, stop. Answer the question." I mean, I would give my right arm for a moderator to say to any of these candidates, "Shut up and answer the question." Why can't that happen once?
It's amazing they didn't pick you to be the moderator.
There's a reason no one's picked me as a moderator.
Where do you think the campaign goes from here?
This is a very tight race.
Yeah.
It is. Every poll is super, super tight. And I just want to encourage anybody out there who agrees with me that we've got to get Kamala elected to please volunteer, as I'm going to be doing, canvassing in a swing state, make phone calls, give money. You don't want to look back after the election and say, "Oh, my God, we have Donald Trump again, and I didn't do what I could have done." So everybody really needs to get involved.
And in terms of anything you think that will stand out when people look back at this night, what do you think is going to be the most memorable moment?
Well, that Kamala was smart. She had the facts. She stuck to her messaging. She cares about the American people. She never had to be corrected on the facts. And Donald Trump is completely chaos, making up facts. I mean, you know, people eating dogs and cats. Come on.
Your big takeaway is the final word.
Is that she swung and whiffed on all the stuff that swing voters care about.
Yeah.
You explain.
What does whiffed mean?
Struck out. Swing and a miss.
Oh, okay.
It's a baseball term.
Okay. I think people do care about economy, about tax credits for child care, for small businesses, about keeping prescription drug prices down, which she has done, by the way, and wants to continue. I think people care a lot about that.
My big takeaway is that it seemed like Kamala Harris laid trap after trap after trap for Donald Trump that he could not help himself but going in, which put him on the defensive, her on the offensive for most of the night. What she didn't really do, though, is explain why she changed her positions and lay out a affirmative case for herself as effectively as maybe some people wanted to. We'll see if that matters or not.
What should you do on the border? Do you have any idea what you do on the border?
We are just about out of time. We want to let you guys know.
Well, to hear more of what John Cobelt has to say about the debate, make sure that you tune in to KFI tomorrow at 1 p.m. And I'm quite sure he will have even more to say about tonight's debate. Oh, and there's also some breaking news right now. From what I can see, Taylor Swift has now formally endorsed Vice President Harris for president, which goes back to what I was saying last hour about watch the polling, watch the donations. It'll be interesting to see whether Taylor Swift's endorsement and getting her Swifties involved, whether that impacts the fundraising number. So something to look out for in the coming days. It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640, live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And the SoCal-To-Vegas bullet train is still on their path to being completed by 2028, or at least they're trying to deploy service then in 2028. I don't know if that is specifically to coincide with the Olympics, but that is the target date. The company, we've talked about this before, the company connected to this is Brightline West, and they're trying to build this, the nation's first electric high-speed rail system. And again, it would run between LA-ish and Las Vegas. But the news is they've released new renderings which show what its trains might look like outside and inside. And when I say renderings, it's just artwork. It's an idea. It's not going to be reality. And I don't know, Mark, and there's a cinematic tie-in here. I don't know if you've seen these renderings of this high-speed bullet train between LA and Las Vegas, but it looks like what will eventually turn into Snowpiercer.
I love trains. I've loved them ever since the fight scene in From Russia with Love.
I love trains too. In fact, when I was in Korea back in June, I had the opportunity, for those who've been following me on social media, to ride a bullet train for the very first time. Rode one from Seoul to Busan, and I was literally on the train to Busan, as they say.
But no zombies.
No zombies. I can confirm. I was on the train. No zombies were on the train. But it's a train which could get as fast as 220 miles an hour, just like the one proposed here. That's the tie-in. And you realize when you're on a bullet train, you're not going 220 miles an hour most of the time, or even half the time. I'm not sure we were that fast even some of the time. It seemed we're about anywhere between 150 and 180 miles an hour. How do you know that, Mo? Well, it's basic math, because you can look at the stops and the miles between stops. You can figure out the time in between and do the math that way. You know, I'm not a math genius, but I can do basic math. So you can find out your average speed. And I suspect it would be similar with what is being proposed here. Depending on how many stops there are between the LA area and Las Vegas, I'm quite sure it may stop in, I don't know, Needles or Barstow or, you know, State Line or something like that. Depending on how many stops will determine how fast it probably will go, but you're not going to get the full 220 mile an hour experience.
Let me recommend a train horror film called Horror Express, which features Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing, Telly Savalas, and a soul-sucking monster. I think you'll enjoy it.
That's a lot of very prominent dead people, great actors in their own right.
It's very entertaining. And if you love trains, I seriously enjoy trains. I've always wanted to go on one of those days-long train rides where you got a sleeper car, you got the dining car, and I see a party car on here.
Yes. I have done that when I was growing up. My mother, who doesn't like flying, even to this day, we often would travel across country. Amtrak, LA to Detroit, where my mother's mother lived, and we would get the sleeper car and everything, and it was a great experience. It was me, my mother, and my sister. Now, my sister and I were young kids, so we didn't take up too much room, so we could get in one sleeper car. It's always been cost prohibitive. Now that I'm an adult and I can actually look at the prices of it, it actually costs less, and you get there 2.5 days quicker by flying. So that's part of the reason why Amtrak has been struggling for the past 40, 45 years, because it costs a lot to get from one side of the country to the other via Amtrak. That said, it's still a great experience, and I would recommend it for you, Mark Ronner.
Oh, yeah. I would take a train. It's too bad that they are sometimes prohibitively expensive, and I can't wait till we catch up with the rest of the civilized world and have widely available, affordable train travel pretty much anywhere, to the point where you don't really even need a car.
And you saw the tie-in. That's what I was talking about with this bullet train. If it ever comes to pass, you could see a revolution that we should have had in this country 40, 50 years ago. For whatever reasons, we decided not to choose infrastructure in this country. We chose defense.
Always follow the money, Mo.
Right. I know. We chose military spending. We've outspent every other industrialized nation in the world by 10 times at least.
We also chose the oil industry.
Right. I'm saying if we chose infrastructure, we would have what other countries have, at least to some degree. Yes, I know that we are geographically speaking a much larger country than Korea or Japan or any of the countries in Europe where they have these high-speed trains. But they also committed to this many decades ago. If we commit to it, we could have it. And I say this because now that I've ridden one or some, it's like, yeah, we actually do need it.
I'll tell you, one of the most fun train rides I ever had was all the way down through Italy and to Sicily. And it lasted quite a long time. And you get so close to things. It's such a long train ride that the temperature changes by the end. And you're going so close to, say, orange trees that you can reach out and grab one. And you're going from, like, say, Florence, where it's all well built out and like a classical city to kind of the Sicilian doorsteps with the guys in the sleeveless T-shirts hanging out, being like, "Hey, what are you looking at?"
Was it high-speed rail?
It was just a regular train, but it was so relaxing and so much fun. And it wasn't the first time I've taken a long train ride just to kind of get my head in order. They're great for that.
They are, and especially if you want to travel and see more of a country. I saw all of Korea just because I went from Seoul to Busan on the bullet train, because if you don't know the geography, you're literally going from one side of the country to the other. The country's only maybe, 300 miles long or something like that. It's really, really small. But going to your point, getting on the train, you're not just traveling, you're experiencing. You get to see it. In many instances, you get to smell and feel what a country is like. You get to experience it on a much more personal level than simply getting on a plane and occasionally looking out the window at stuff on the ground.
Absolutely. And if you're lucky enough to be on a non-bullet train, excuse me, I'm not great with directions, and this is before every single human on the planet had a smartphone. I've actually had to throw my bag off a train and jump after it onto the tracks.
Are you serious? Stand by me?
Yeah. It was great fun.
Oh, my goodness. See, I've learned more and more about you. I didn't know that you traveled through Europe. I didn't know that you were hitching rides on trains.
Just like Kwai Chang Caine with his bedroll and his flute. But we don't have to talk about that right now. Let's not talk about it.
Are you sure?
No. I regret bringing it up.
You don't want to talk about how you were sleeping in cars and everything?
I didn't mind sleeping on train cars, but back then, people could still smoke. And so it was a real crapshoot if you got somebody who was just going to chain smoke while you were trying to sleep, because even if you coughed directly at them, they'd look at you like, "You're the problem, buddy. You don't like this. You can always go someplace else."
Well, thank you, Mark Ronner. When we come back, we're going to tell you about the Swift Pod, a futuristic concept that could change long-distance travel.
Later with Mo Kelly on KFI AM 640.
We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And last segment, I was talking with Mark Ronner about long-distance travel, and that was against the backdrop of this high-speed rail, which was being developed and built between Los Angeles and Las Vegas. Supposedly, it's going to be here in 2028. And it got us thinking about long-distance travel, how technology can change and improve the experience beyond just flying from here to there, but having other alternatives. And Tawala came across this technology, which was being developed that I had not even seen, called a Swift Pod, where it's almost like a rolling motel, I shouldn't say motel, but a hotel room, which would pick you up. Think of like a driverless taxi, but with a bed and space for two people, and take you to your destination, which could be overnight. And you would wake up refreshed and have a better way or a more pleasant way to travel.
Thanks to a self-driving sleep pod. I'm Kurt the Cyber Guy. Follow me at cyberguy.com, where my newsletter is free. It is called the Swift Pod, and it could someday redefine long-distance travel.
That's what I said.
This autonomous vehicle offers hotel-like amenities, allowing you to sleep, relax, work, or simply enjoy the ride. Booking your journey is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Specify your pickup location and time and let the Swift Pod's intelligent system take care of the rest. The Pod's smart system not only calculates the most efficient route, but also suggests scenic stops along the way. Created by Peter Stoltz and the innovative minds at Zillow, with its unique triangular shape and eco-friendly design, the Swift Pod is more than just a mode of transport. It's a vision of sustainable, flight-free future. Though for now, it's still just a concept. More crazy cool tech like this at cyberguy.com. If you're not already getting my newsletter.
It looks like a light cycle from Tron, just a real big light cycle. Now, here's my issue with it. If I'm not exactly cool with an autonomous taxi, I'm not so sure I would be cool with an autonomous Motel 6.
You know, Jesse, this is so exciting because you know why? They've never met.
Okay. I don't know if I'd be good with an autonomous Motel 6. I don't know if I'd be. I couldn't go to sleep in one of those things. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that.
They are developing it, Mo. This is yet another step forward in the autonomous vehicle revolution that I think you need to wake up to. It's not just autonomous taxis. It's not just air taxis. It is now going to be autonomous traveling hotel rooms. It's like, this is travel of the future.
I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the idea of a robot bringing me a pizza. I'm not sure I could even trust it with that. But I get my mind wrapped around that. Then we can talk about it driving me while awake. Then we can talk about it driving me while asleep. Then we can talk about it driving me and my wife while we're both asleep or not asleep.
This is all a part of the forward movement. You've got to understand that by the time we have these travel pods, the self-driving autonomous vehicles, not only for taxis, but also just for you and I, when we have the autonomous robo-taxis taking people to and fro here in the Southland, this will all be a part of that Blade Runner future that we were promised so long ago. We've actually passed the Blade Runner point.
No. This is going to be technology which is going to be perfected long after all of us are dead. This is for our grandchildren, not even our children, our grandchildren.
I am shocked, I say, that Tawala Sharp would come out championing such a thing.
Who couldn't have seen that coming?
Yeah, what a surprise. Is he wearing some fancy new shoes, carrying an expensive-looking bag, a Rolex, anything? What do you see?
He wouldn't have a Rolex because that's low tech. But obviously, big tech is putting some money in his pocket because he's always on the side of big autonomous technology.
Would you call him the Bob Menendez of big tech?
Wait a minute. You are out of order.
There are gold bars in his refrigerator at home right now.
Uh-huh.
Look, I cannot understand how two forward-thinking Trekkies like yourself, two individuals who look to the future for leadership, cannot see how it's happening now. Especially you, Mark. You have written about such technology and how it's going to advance society.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Did they have autonomous vehicles in Star Trek?
Your father was a computer and your mother was an encyclopedia. Does that ring a bell?
No.
Really?
I'm not a Trekkie like you are.
Oh, come on.
What is that, The Trouble with Tribbles? Which one was that?
No, that's the one where they went to the planet where they all got sprayed with the spores and everybody was happy except Kirk and he had to bring Spock down. Okay, and Spock tried to kill him for it.
Let me be very clear. I'm a Star Wars kid. My mother is a Trekkie. Tawala Sharp will never be a Trekkie. He makes that very clear. He hates Star Trek.
No, it's almost as distasteful and horrifying as you not being into the Kung Fu series. But I think both of you combined have enough positive qualities that I'm able to look beyond that most of the time.
I'm not anti-Star Trek. I'm just saying I'm not a Trekkie. We're going to get these vague, random, oblique references to a very particular episode of 1966 season 2.
These are not vague, random, nor are they oblique. They are part of pop culture. They're huge.
Pop culture,
huge. Okay, Stefan, you know a little something about pop culture, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Did you know what in the hell he was talking about?
Absolutely not.
Thank you very much.
I thought you were talking about something from Mork and Mindy for all I know.
Come on. Nobody's buying this.
Nanu.
Both of you have come unglued. If you're going to try and argue to me that Star Trek isn't a huge part of pop culture, then that's insane.
See, that's
patently insane.
Not what we're talking about. Look, I'm quite sure The Walking Dead is a huge part of pop culture. It doesn't mean that I'm going to get every obscure reference. You went very obscure.
Apples and rotten oranges, as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Other than
encyclopedia.
Other than Khan Noon Singh, that's about it. That's about all I know.
Oh, that's a good one. Space Seed's a terrific one. And two, The Wrath of Khan is a great, great movie.
Yes, it is. That's what I'm saying. Khan! Okay, that's all I got.
Yeah.
Great and terrible.
Okay, how obscure are you trying to go?
I don't think any of this is obscure. I think it's a massive part of the pop culture that most people living on Earth today are familiar with because they grew up with it.
Okay, most people on Earth. That is very, very generous. Tuwala, can you name 3 characters of Star Trek not of the original cast? 3.
Not of the original cast?
Like, you can't tell me Kirk. You can't tell me Sulu. You can't tell me Uhuru. You can't do any of those.
Pike?
Spock. Okay, Pike. That's one.
Why are we doing
Trebles?
That's not a character. Those are creatures.
Oh. Borg.
Those
Borg 1?
That's not a... That's from the new...
Borg Prime.
Okay. Borg Prime. That's a character.
Okay. And Data. Is that something?
Okay, yeah. That's from the Next Generation.
Okay. And Worf.
Fair enough. We'll let Worf go.
I fail to see what purpose this serves.
I'm just saying, your idea of pop culture and most of the world knows is vastly overstated.
Whoopi Goldberg.
I think both of you have sustained head injuries, and I think it's an objective fact that the original Star Trek is the most popular cult television show in all of television history.
It might be the most impactful. I don't know if it's the most popular. I say it's most impactful because it began the convention phenomenon as we know it. I don't deny that. But as far as the TV show itself, I don't know if it holds that same place in cinematic history.
I am astonished that we're even debating this.
It's debatable.
It really is debatable.
I mean,
yeah,
not in this solar system.
Debating it.
No, it's not debatable in this time-space continuum. I'm sorry. But, I mean, I could talk about this till 10 o'clock if that's what you want to do.
And you would still be wrong for the next hour and 15 minutes.
That's a big negatory on that. I can defend myself. Against the 3 of you, I can defend myself. So
Stefan doesn't count. He doesn't even watch Star Trek. He's never seen an episode of Star Trek in his life.
You hear that, Stefan? He says you don't count. Are you going to stand for that?
Tell me I'm wrong, Stefan. Tell me one Star Trek episode of one Star Trek-related show you've seen.
He's 100% right.
Thank you.
This proves nothing except that Stefan has a great deal to look forward to someday. Oh, my God, look at the time.
How is it you can be such a Star Trek aficionado and never have interviewed William Shatner?
Well, I'm a James Bond aficionado, and I never interviewed Sean Connery either. You can't get to all of them.
He's dead.
Well, most of the Star Trek cast, apart from Shatner and what is it, Koenig, and George Takei, they're the only ones left.
Oh, but we did Uhuru. We did Nichelle Nichols.
She's gone now too.
Yeah, but I'm saying you had ample time.
So what you're saying is you're backing me up by saying that you were enough of a Star Trek fan yourself that you tracked down one of the original stars to interview. Well done, and I appreciate this.
I don't deny that they were actually pop culture relevant. I'm just saying, for someone who supposedly espouses that it was the greatest TV show of all time, you have absolutely no professional history connected to them.
I appreciate this support, and I forgive you for every ignorant thing that you've said about this. And I'm ready to move on because I think you've redeemed yourself.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And remember Rachael Gunn from the Olympics, the breakdancer from Australia? She did not win 1 point. And if you watch the breaking competition, it was It was based in competition. They had multi-round competitions. It was round robin. You competed against everyone in your division, and there were like 3 rounds for each contest, and you were scored the winner or loser of each round. If you won a round, you got a point. You won 2 out of 3, you won your match. Well, she did not win one match. She did not win 1 point. She went 0 for the Olympics. Raygun, Rachael Gunn. You've probably seen her by now. She went viral due to her antics, what she thought was actual breakdancing. It was not. It was embarrassing, and I think it did a disservice to the art form of breakdancing altogether. I thought she made a mockery of it. Well, she's going to get the last laugh, it seems, because B-Girl Raygun, and if you're a breakdancer, you're either a B-boy or a B-girl. B-Girl Raygun is now the #1 female breakdancer in the world, despite what happened in Paris. I'm not making this up. This is not from The Onion. She failed to score a single point at Paris, but according to the new rankings released by the World Dance Sport Federation, sorry, I don't know what that is, but it's listed as the governing body for breakdancing, Raygun is now the #1 female breaker in the world. Why? Because Raygun won the 2023 WDSF Oceania Championships. In other words, basically the 2023 Australian Championships, which awarded her 1,000 ranking points. Her win in that event is how she earned her spot at the Olympics. None of the medalists in women's breaking at the Olympics, none of them are currently ranked in the top 10. Why that is? Who knows? Here we go. The rankings are based on points from each breaker's top 4 performances in the last 12 months. But the points expire after a year. And as a number of sports do prior to the Olympics, breaking changed its schedule and the awarding of points to allow athletes to focus on preparation leading up to the Paris Games. So due to that, 3 major events did not contribute to the rankings points. Olympic qualifiers in Shanghai and Budapest, and the Olympic Games itself did not contribute to the rankings. So while Raygun earned 0 points from the Olympics due to her performance, the medalists didn't earn any either, despite finishing the top in the world. But there's more. Not only did those 3 major events not contribute to the points, they were some of the only events held over the past year. You see where I'm going with this. So of the events which were held this year before people's points expired, basically none of them counted toward the rankings. So right now, the points from most other events have expired, and there are no other points coming in due to the Olympics. So almost by default, Raygun ends up as the #1 female breakdancer in the world, not just in Australia, in the world. That's why we cannot have nice things. That's why people cannot take breakdancing seriously, because the person who doesn't take it seriously and made a mockery of it on the largest stage, literally and internationally, ever known when it comes to breakdancing, is now the #1 breaker, B-Girl, in the world, according to some organizations' rankings that I've never heard of in my life.
It's almost like you don't appreciate that. Listen, I have an idea, and I don't want you to steal this from me, even though we're on live radio. I want a show with Raygun and the Hawk Tua girl. It'll either become the most popular thing ever done, or it'll cause some sort of singularity and the universe will collapse on itself.
It's not a bad idea. I just don't think either or both would be savvy enough to figure how to make that happen.
No, actually, because the Hawk Tua girl has talked to her, she could actually get another no talent bum like B-Girl Ray Bum on her Hawk Tua show, and they can both talk about spitting on that thing.
So hostile, so outright misogynistic from Tuwala there.
I'm just upset by the idea that this no talent bum is being labeled as the best breakdancer, female breakdancer in the world by some rag trade. I don't know. All of this is bad.
Tawala, there's only one way you can square your karma, and that is to formally have your name changed to Hawk Tawala.
Hawk, and spit on that thing. You get me?
You get me? Look, but there is a serious commentary to be made. You have someone like Hawk Tua Haley Welch, who has no discernible talent whatsoever. None. She just made a cringy, honestly cringy, not even funny, a cringy sexual crude remark on a man on the street interview. And it changed her life, and she's made millions of dollars in endorsements from what I understand. And you have B-Girl Raygun, who has no discernible talent, let's be real, for what she's known for, and she's turned that into, or will turn it into, millions of dollars. Yeah, I know it may seem like it's chauvinistic and misogynistic because it's a guy talking about two women, but take me out of it. Tell me, show me, demonstrate to me that either of them have any talent whatsoever in any way, doing anything, and I'll get on board.
Well, the Raygun lady does have the funniest memes at the moment.
But she's not creating them. We're creating them. The internet is creating them.
Yeah, she's the source of all of it. It's the American way. Don't begrudge them their success. They're running with it.
No. I'm not jealous of them. I'm saying don't get mad at me or mischaracterize me or Tawala because we point out the obvious. She is not a legitimate breakdancer. She is not the best in the world. She is not even talented on any measurable level. Saying so is just telling the truth. It's not jealousy. It is not any type of misogyny. It's just a fact. I mean,
just a couple haters is what it is. Here's what I want, and this will settle it dispositively. I want to see a break-in contest between you and Raygun, and I think this can be achieved.
What's in it for me? No, if you get the right sponsor, yeah, I'd do it.
Does everything have to come down to money?
You damn right at this age. I am not going to hurt myself at 54 years old and get on the internet and embarrass myself and subject myself to possible public ridicule more than I usually do for absolutely zero.
If she's that bad, you won't even break a sweat. You got this in the bag, man.
Yeah, but I'm saying for me to win, I have to get something. I don't need the satisfaction of beating Raygun. I need more than that.
Well, I need to see this, whatever it takes. And I'm not bankrolling it.
We'll call Jake Paul.
Hawk, and spit on that thing. You get me?
KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
There's a lot of misinformation out there, and none of it is allowed here.
KFI
and KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio.